Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, friends, family. Welcome to another episode of From the Ground Up. We are a video series focused on building your faith one step at a time. Today, we have an exciting two-part series on the King James Version of the Bible. We're going to be looking at the making of the KJV, the King James Version, in this part, and then its lasting impact and relevance for modern Christianity in part two. So, joining me today is my wonderful co host, Dr. Brian.
Thanks, Debbie. Viewers, let's take a journey together. A journey into the making of one of the most important documents, I think, in the English language, and certainly a central document for the Christian church, the King James Version. In this video, as Debbie said, we're going to delve into the setting and making of the text. So let's go back in time. Join me as we go back to the 17th century, merry old England. The year is 1603, and King James I, the first king from the House of Stuart, or the first English king from the House of Stuart, has just ascended to the throne. England is in the midst of some trying times. It's in the midst of upheaval, both politically, as a new king comes to the throne, but importantly for our story, also religiously.
At this time, the Church of England was firmly established. It became independent from Rome back in 1534, but religious tensions were still running high. One of the challenges for the new monarch was a lack of a singular English translation. At that time, there were several versions of the Bible that were in English, and this included the Great Bible, the Tyndale Bible, the Geneva Bible, and a revision of it known as the Bishop's Bible. These versions often included explanatory notes, which occasionally condemned not just the Pope, but even the King. So in 1604, at the Hampton Court Conference, Dr. John Reynolds called for a new translation to be produced, and King James commanded it to be done.
So with that setting out of the way, we can dive into the actual translation process. So first and foremost, James commissioned a committee of leading scholars to undertake this project. Depending on when in the process we want to count them, they numbered between 48 and 54 scholars at various times. These scholars were divided into 6 committees, and they worked out of 3 locations: Oxford, Cambridge, and Westminster. They each were given specific parts of the Bible to work on and begin translating. This team of scholars was looking to revise the Bishop's Bible, the version at least from 1602. Their goal was to take that version and then compare it with all the other available manuscript evidence they had to create a good version of the English Bible, a version that was not just poetic and lyrical, but also easy to read for the masses, and perhaps importantly, did not include any editorial comments.
The translation team worked on this project for years and involved constant review, debates, and revisions between the various committees. Timothy Berg talks about the formation that the KJV was having on 3 broad stages. 1, the general committee work. 2, a general meeting of 12 scholars in 1610 who vetoed some suggested revisions. And finally, number 3, editors who came in and applied the final touches to the text. The first publicly available printing of the text came out in 1611. At that time, and even now, it is often referred to as the Authorized Version due to the commissioning under King James I. However, it became known as the King James Version.
The King James Version didn't just succeed in its religious mandate, but it also had a profound impact on the English language. It introduced countless phrases and idioms that we still use today. In fact, you might not be aware of how much it has impacted our English language. Phrases like the apple of his eye, a labor of love, and a thorn in the flesh all actually come from this original translation. Its poetic and lyrical language has made it a classic work of English literature. After its initial publication in 1611, the King James Version continued to have improvements and refinements over the preceding years. Officially, the KJV has had 5 revisions. These versions came out in 1611, 1629, 1638, 1762, and 1769. If you were to go and pick up a version of the King James today, it is most likely that last 1769 version that you will be reading from. Beyond just its own revisions, the King James has served as the base text for numerous other translations that we have today. In fact, too many to count. Its impact can also still be seen today. In 2022, the King James Version was actually the fourth best selling English translation in the world. 250 years later, it is still in the top 5 most sold versions of the Bible year after year in English. Its effect cannot be overstated.
In closing, the King James Version of the Bible is not just a translation, it is a testament to the power of language, faith, and collaboration. It shaped English and left an enduring legacy in the modern church. In part two of this series, we're going to delve into some of the do's and the don'ts of using the KJV in our modern faith. See you then.
Take care.